All right, get ready to dig in because today we're tackling a question you sent in. What's the story behind ice cream? You think a scoop is simple. Buckle up, because the journey from ancient treats to the pint in your freezer is surprisingly intricate, full of twists I bet you won't see coming.
What's fascinating is how ice cream's story isn't just about, well, ice and cream. It acts as this unexpected window into broader historical trends, globalization, industrialization, even the evolution of food safety, all spun together with sugar, ice, and a whole lot of ingenuity.
Right, I mean, you hear those legends about Roman emperors chilling out with honey and ice, and you think, okay, ancient dessert makes sense.
No.
But this isn't just some straight line from togas to cones, is it?
Not at all. Those stories, while fun, are more myth than fact. But they highlight something universal people have always loved: a good chilled treat, especially in warmer climates. When it comes to the real origins of what we consider ice cream, we have to look to 17th century Italy.
Italy, of course. It's always sunny somewhere, right? But seriously, Italy in the 1600s, that's not exactly a time known for readily available ice. So how did they even make ice cream without modern refrigeration?
Picture this. It's the 1600s. You're a chef named Latini working for a wealthy family in Naples. You're known for your elaborate, impressive culinary creations. One day, you're experimenting with a mixture of milk, water, sugar, candied lemon, and you decide to try something new. You place this mixture into a container and then submerge that container in a large vat filled with plain.
Wait, is this where the ice and salt trick comes in? I've tried that, making ice cream at home, but I never knew it went back that far.
Exactly. Even back then, they knew that salt lowers the freezing point of ice, allowing the mixture to freeze much faster and to a lower temperature than ice alone. This milk sorbetto, as Latini called it, became a sensation.
Okay, so we've got a potential aha moment in culinary history with Latini and his milk sorbetto. But this is where things get tricky, right? Because some food historians argue this was just a variation on existing frozen desserts, while others credit him as the true ice cream pioneer. So which is it?
It's a delicious debate, and one without a definitive answer. What we do know is that Latini's recipe contained the core elements of what we now call ice cream milk, sugar, flavorings, and that ingenious freezing method.
It makes you wonder if Latini had any idea he was onto something so significant, something that would evolve over centuries into the ice cream we know and love today. But I'm guessing it wasn't an instant jump from a Neapolitan kitchen to global domination.
Not quite. It took a royal introduction. In 1671, a version of this chilled Italian dessert was served at a grand banquet hosted by King Charles II at Windsor Castle. The English court was captivated, and just like that, ice cream, as they called it, was thrust into the spotlight.
Talk about a life-changing dessert course, but let's be real, 17th century ice cream couldn't have been as easy as swinging by the grocery store. What were the hurdles in taking it from a royal treat to, well, everyone's treat?
You're hitting on a key point. While that royal spotlight put ice cream on the map, so to speak, it was still a luxury. And a big part of that came down to the ingredients themselves, particularly sugar. We take it for granted now, but for centuries, sugar was a luxury commodity in Europe. Imagine trying to create an irresistible frozen treat when sugar is as precious as gold.
That's a great point. It completely changes how you view something as seemingly basic as sugar in ice cream's history. So how did they bridge that gap? How did they make it accessible to more than just the wealthy?
The answer lies in the Caribbean. With the rise of European colonialism in the Americas, vast sugarcane plantations were established. This influx of affordable sugar from the Caribbean completely transformed the culinary landscape, making sweet treats, ice cream included, accessible to a much wider population.
So more sugar meant more affordable ice cream. It's amazing how a simple ingredient could have such a huge impact. But I'm guessing it wasn't just as simple as dumping a bag of sugar into the mix. What did those early ice cream makers have to contend with?
You're right, it definitely wasn't a simple dump and stir situation. Even with more readily available sugar, achieving that perfect sweetness and texture was still a challenge.
Oh, right. Before industrial refining, sugar was a whole different beast, wasn't it?
Completely. One 18th century recipe we found describes using egg whites to clarify sugar, a process that could take days. It really highlights the dedication of those early ice cream artisans.
Wow, egg whites. Talk about commitment. I'm exhausted just thinking about it. It makes you appreciate how easy we have it today. But it wasn't just about the sugar, right? At some point, ice cream went from a simple sweet treat to this explosion of flavors.
Absolutely. Vanilla, chocolate, coffee, these global discoveries were essential to shaping the ice cream we know and love.
Yeah.
Vanilla, for example, has a fascinating journey all its own.
I bet. It always feels so luxurious, especially in ice cream. What's the story there?
Well, vanilla was first cultivated in ancient Mexico. It wasn't until the 16th century that European explorers encountered this exotic spice and brought it back across the Atlantic. Imagine the journey from the rainforests of Mexico across the ocean, all to flavor a frozen treat in Europe.
That's incredible. When you think about how each of these ingredients had its own long journey, it makes you realize that a scoop of ice cream is like a snapshot of global history in a bowl.
Exactly. And as these new ingredients made their way into kitchens, ice cream transformed from a simple indulgence into an art form. Chefs experimented with flavors, colors, and presentation. There are even accounts of ice cream being meticulously crafted to resemble realistic fruits, like peaches or pears, complete with edible stems and leaves. Can you imagine the skill involved?
Wow, that's next level. It sounds like these chefs were true artists. They were pushing the boundaries of what ice cream could be. But with all this creativity and the increasing availability of sugar, we still haven't tackled the elephant, or should I say the mammoth in the room, keeping it all cold.
That's the irony, isn't it? We've got the sugar, the flavors, the creativity, but it all comes down to maintaining those icy temperatures.
Yeah.
And before electricity, that was no easy feat.
Definitely not. We've all experienced the disappointment of melted ice cream. I can only imagine the lengths they went to back then. Fill me in. How did they do it before modern refrigeration?
It was a monumental task.
Right.
For centuries, the only option was harvesting natural ice during the winter months. They would cut these enormous blocks of ice from frozen lakes and rivers and store them in specially designed ice houses until warmer weather.
Okay, hold on. We're talking about dedicated buildings just for ice storage. That's some serious commitment to a cold dessert.
Absolutely. These ice houses were architectural marvels in their own right. They were often built with thick walls, white paint to reflect sunlight, and layers of insulation like sawdust to prevent melting. They were designed to preserve ice for as long as possible.
That's incredible. These ice houses sound like the original walk-in freezers, but I imagine relying on natural ice had its drawbacks, right?
You're absolutely right. It was incredibly labor-intensive and dependent on the whims of nature. A mild winter could spell disaster for ice cream production. Plus, transporting these massive blocks of ice was no easy feat.
So what changed the game? When did we finally break free from the limitations of natural ice?
The answer, as with so many things, lies with the Industrial Revolution. The advent of artificial ice production powered by electricity was a complete game changer. Suddenly, ice wasn't limited by geography or the unpredictability of the weather.
I can only imagine what a breakthrough that must have been. But I'm guessing early artificial ice wasn't without its challenges.
Exactly. Initially, it was actually more expensive to produce than natural ice. Plus, there were concerns about the chemicals used in the early processes. But gradually, as technology improved and costs decreased, artificial ice became the go-to, making frozen treats, including our beloved ice cream, more accessible than ever before.
So we've got the ice situation figured out. We've got the flavors, the sugar, the creativity. But something tells me there's still a missing piece in this ice cream evolution puzzle. We're still a long way from the modern convenience we enjoy today, aren't we? You're absolutely right. We've got the ingredients, we've cracked the ice code, but there's still that element of specialized labor, like we talked about earlier. Making ice cream, especially smooth, creamy ice cream, used to be a workout.
It really was. Before modern ice cream machines churning, the mixture was a physically demanding task. Often it involves skilled chefs literally churning by hand for extended periods to achieve the desired consistency.
I can't imagine the arm strength that required. No wonder it was considered a luxury for so long. So what changed? How did we go from muscle-powered churning to the modern ice cream machines we have today?
The shift began with a stroke of ingenuity, actually from an unexpected source. In 1843, a woman named Nancy Johnson patented the first hand-cranked ice cream maker.
Okay, I love this already. Tell me everything about Nancy Johnson and this game-changing invention.
She essentially democratized ice cream. Her invention, while still manual, made the process significantly easier and more accessible to everyday people. Suddenly, you didn't need a team of skilled chefs to churn your ice cream. You could do it at home with Nancy Johnson's ingenious hand-cranked device.
Nancy Johnson, you were ahead of your time. It's amazing how one invention could have such a huge impact. But we're still talking about making ice cream at home. What about mass production? When did ice cream go from kitchens to factories?
The transition to mass production was largely driven by an entrepreneurial dairyman named Jacob Fussell. He was based in Baltimore and had this ongoing challenge, a surplus of milk, particularly during the summer months.
Okay, I'm sensing a light bulb moment here.
Exactly. Instead
That's
of
it.
letting that surplus milk go to waste, He had a brilliant idea. He decided to use it to make ice cream. Fussell had a keen business sense. He saw the growing demand for this frozen treat and realized that by streamlining production and making it more affordable, he could tap into a huge market.
What a brilliant example of turning a problem into an opportunity. He was like the original waste not, want not entrepreneur.
Perfectly put.
Eh,
And his timing was impeccable with advancements in refrigeration technology like those artificial ice-making methods we discussed earlier. Mass production became more efficient and cost-effective.
So between Nancy Johnson's hand-cranked invention making it possible in homes and Jacob Fussell pioneering mass production, ice cream was finally within reach for everyone. But something tells me the story doesn't end there. We haven't even talked about cones yet.
You're right. We can't forget about the iconic ice cream cone. And the story of its invention is a bit of a delicious mystery. Legend has it that during the 1904 World's Fair in St. Louis, an ice cream vendor ran out of dishes.
Oh no, talk about a disaster. What did they do?
Our resourceful waffle vendor came to the rescue. They rolled their thin, waffle-like pastries into cones, providing a convenient and edible way to enjoy the ice cream. And thus, the ice cream cone was born.
I love that story. It's amazing how something as simple as running out of dishes could lead to such an iconic pairing. But even with affordable ice cream ingenious cones and mass production, we're still missing one crucial element, the ability to store this cold treat at home.
Absolutely. The home refrigerator was a game changer, but its development and widespread adoption took time. Early attempts at home refrigeration were bulky, expensive, and even dangerous, relying on toxic and flammable chemicals.
Yikes. Not exactly ideal for keeping your ice cream safe and delicious.
Exactly. It wasn't until the 1920s that safer and more compact refrigerators became available to the average consumer. This technological leap transformed how people enjoyed ice cream. They could finally store and enjoy their favorite frozen treats at their leisure, leading to all those late-night ice cream runs and just one more scoop moments we know and love.
Right. It's like the final piece of the puzzle finally falls into place.
Yeah.
But with all this talk about mass production, affordability, and convenience, I have to ask, were there any downsides to this new ice cream era?
It's an important question. As with many advancements, the journey wasn't without its bumps. While mass production and widespread availability made ice cream accessible to the masses, it also brought new challenges.
Like what kind of challenges did this new era of ice cream bring?
Well, imagine a time before strict food safety regulations. Early 20th century ice cream production, while innovative, wasn't always held to the highest standard.
No, that doesn't sound good.
Yep.
What were the concerns back then?
Contamination was a serious problem. The ingredients themselves, the milk, the eggs, even the ice, weren't always sourced or handled with the level of care we expect today. This led to outbreaks of foodborne illnesses linked to contaminated ice cream, a scary prospect for anyone enjoying a scoop.
That's terrifying. I never realized something as delightful as ice cream could have such a dark side. So how did things change? What steps were taken to make ice cream safer?
Public awareness played a crucial role. As more people experienced the joys of ice cream, they also became aware of the potential risks. This growing concern spurred a movement towards stricter food safety regulations. One name you should know from this movement is Alice Evans. She was a pioneering scientist who focused on milk hygiene, and her work was instrumental in driving reform in the dairy industry.
Milk hygiene. It sounds like her research was essential, especially given how important milk is to ice cream.
Absolutely. Evans's research highlighted the dangers of contaminated milk and helped establish pasteurization as a standard practice in the industry. Her efforts alongside those of other advocates and reformers led to the establishment of government agencies like the FDA here in the United States, tasked with setting and enforcing food safety standards.
The FDA. It's amazing how influential those early food safety pioneers were in shaping the regulations that protect us today. It makes you realize how much we take for granted when we grab a plate of ice cream from the store.
It really does. Today, the FDA has strict guidelines regarding what can and cannot be in our ice cream, ensuring that it meets high standards for safety and quality. These regulations cover everything from the quality of the ingredients to the manufacturing processes, all designed to protect public health.
That's reassuring. So we've tackled contamination and food safety. But even with those concerns addressed, we can't ignore the other elephant in the room, the health aspects of our favorite frozen treat.
You're right, we can't ignore the nutritional aspect. Ice cream, while delicious, is undeniably a treat. It's typically high in sugar, fat, and calories, and overindulging can contribute to health issues like weight gain, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes.
It's all about balance and moderation, right? Enjoying ice cream as part of a balanced diet and active lifestyle.
Exactly. It's also worth noting that some people experience discomfort after enjoying ice cream. You've probably heard of brain freeze, that short-lived but intense headache some people get from eating cold foods too quickly.
Oh, I know brain freeze all too well. It's the price we pay for those extra large scoops.
Exactly. The good news is it's usually harmless and fades quickly. But it's a good reminder to slow down and savor every bite of that delicious, historically rich treat.
Slow down and savor great advice. So we've journeyed from ancient origins to modern marvels, from emperors to entrepreneurs, from hand-cranked contraptions to mass production. And we've even tackled food safety and brain freezes. That's quite the deep dive.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it makes you realize that a simple scoop of ice cream is so much more than just a treat. It's a testament to human ingenuity, our evolving understanding of the world, and even our complex relationship with food.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Next time you indulge in a bowl or a cone, you'll see it in a whole new light, appreciating the centuries of innovation, the cultural influences, and even the challenges that have shaped this beloved treat. It's a delicious reminder that even the simplest pleasures have fascinating stories to tell if we just take the time to listen.